The Bengals got their third straight victory this afternoon, and in the process swept the Cleveland Browns in the Battle of Ohio here in 2024. Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. This is our instant reaction video coming your guys' way after we just wrapped up our Week 16 watch party. Bengals taking care of business as heavy favorites at home, getting the job done against the Cleveland Browns 24-6. Plenty of reason to still be optimistic about this ball club. Slim hopes for the playoffs, but still alive as of now. And this game next week against the Denver Broncos will be massive. And going into that game, the Bengals, regardless of what happens the rest of the day today, will have a chance for the postseason here in 2024. We're going to give you guys my 5 takeaways to the football game. That is going to be our instant reaction video. Plenty to discuss offensively and defensively as well, which I believe the best defensive performance Cincinnati has put out on the field here in 2024. Obviously going up against an inexperienced backup quarterback and just the dumpster fire that is the Cleveland Browns. But still, professional football game. They went out there and did a lot of good things here this afternoon. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to hit that sub button if you have not done so already. We are going to be live for the Bengals versus the Broncos. Of note, that is going to be a Saturday kick. I believe it is in the late afternoon slot as well at 4:30. But we will be live for that. Should be a lot of fun. Kind of feels like a playoff game, but then again, it's kind of felt like a playoff game the past several weeks as well. So don't miss out on our watch party. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Takeaway number 1 here. The defensive veterans stepped up in this football game. 2 people I want to shout out. First off, I've been kind of hard on Mike Hilton. We saw him get beat several times throughout the year here in 2024. But these past 2 weeks, albeit against poor teams in the Titans and the Browns, he has absolutely showed out and put in some vintage Mike Hilton performances. When you think of Mike Hilton, what's the first thing you think of? You think about him coming off the edge on a blitz, timing it up perfectly, and getting the TFL in the backfield. Did that a couple of more times in this game against the Cleveland Browns, and we saw it last week against the Tennessee Titans as well. Thought Mike Hilton was outstanding once again in this game. Free agent at the end of this season. Might have to entertain the thought of him coming back for next year's season, albeit certainly a vet minimum type deal. But if he keeps this up over the course of the next 2 weeks, might need to bring him back for another year. Second guy I want to shout out here, Vonn Bell. Here's a guy that is just a team player, right? I think the Bengals brought him in the offseason hoping he could just get right back to his old form a couple of years ago when he was paired up with Jesse Bates and just have him go out there and be their guy at that strong safety spot. He has seen his playing time decrease. Jordan Battle, the youngster, has kind of taken over there. But Vonn Bell was in the game on the goal line when the Bengals had their backs up against the wall immediately after that massive run on the first play from scrimmage from Jerome Ford. What did Vonn Bell do? Yeah, he did vintage Vonn Bell things. Forced the fumble at the 1-yard line and recovered it as well. That was absolutely awesome by Vonn Bell. Those 2 veterans in particular, Hilton and Bell, were critical in this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. Leads us to the pinned comment of today's video. What is your confidence level in the Cincinnati Bengals making the playoffs here in 2024? We'll have a video out during the week that'll kind of detail percentages, what needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen, what have you. But let me know in the comment section. Scale it for us 1 to 10. If that ad comes here on YouTube, totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Second takeaway here, the defensive rookies stepped up in this football game. Kris Jenkins Jr., how about that? Was absolutely awesome in this game. 2 sacks for the second round pick out of Michigan. Rookie, of course. Thought he did a tremendous job out there on the football field for this game for Cincinnati. Secondly, McKinnley Jackson also had a sack of his own. With this illness with Sheldon Rankins, these youngsters are really getting forced into duty, and those 2 guys were terrific in this game for the Bengals. Also did some good things in the run game as well. The TFLs making things tough for the inexperienced quarterback DTR. Jenkins and Jackson in the interior were great. And also want to shout out Josh Newton. He did some great things as well. Again, going up against a quarterback in DTR, certainly at the bottom when it comes to NFL quarterbacks, but still, he was out there guarding really well, wasn't, getting penalized or anything like that, and I thought he had a really nice day from a tackling perspective as well. Those 3 rookies were great in this game. I think in large part, that's why Cincinnati only gave up 6 points. Third takeaway here, you won the turnover battle. We always say that is a key to victory for the Cincinnati Bengals. You could make that argument for any single team in the NFL, but with the Bengals, it feels even more critical because they are so reliant on creating turnovers to get stops. So we always talk about got to win the turnover battle if you're going to win. Cincinnati wins it 3-1 again in this game. Interception from Jordan Battle. Interception from Geno Stone. How about that? 3 games in a row for Geno Stone getting an interception. Again, against weak quarterbacks, but this is a guy that was playing really, really bad. 3 interceptions in a row, certainly noteworthy for Geno Stone being able to get that done. And, of course, the Vonn Bell fumble at the goal line was absolutely tremendous as well. And just the timing of those turnovers. 2 of those were right essentially in the end zone. The 1 interception from Battle was in the end zone. Goal line defense was great in this game. That was going to be critical and a major reason why Cincinnati was able to get the job done 24-6 and sweep the Cleveland Browns. We'll continue with our takeaways here in a moment. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time because today's instant reaction video is presented by Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better and it's the perfect gift. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks is the easiest way to find and buy tickets to live events. 1 home game left next week. Massive one, a banger at Paycor Stadium. Bengals Broncos. Head on over to Game Time and get the best deals possible. My 2 favorite features on Game Time. First up, the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. Secondly, the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of those surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, next takeaway here. The offense was elite early in the game. That first half, man, they were doing absolutely everything right in this football game. Joe Burrow was on point. How about that first touchdown to T. Higgins? T. Higgins, after the game, called it kind of a Superman, right? Kind of reminded me of the throw that Mahomes had in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers several years ago that albeit ended in an incompletion, but kind of just essentially like parallel to the ground and was able to get that ball off to T. Higgins, set the tone, immediate touchdown to start the game. Awesome stuff from Joe Burrow in that moment. Thought Chase Brown started the game really, really well as well. Really allowed Cincinnati to kind of get going on the ground, absolutely. Later in the game, you definitely had your struggles in the second half, third quarter in particular. Thought Jim Schwartz of the Browns, defensive coordinator, did a tremendous job at kind of mixing some things up, started sending some pressure to Cincinnati, and that was an issue for them to deal with, absolutely no doubt about it. You had Amarius Mims, we'll touch on him at the end of the show, by the way, was out for a period, and you had, backup lineman in there. Cochran was back in there, and you really just didn't do a great job of protecting in those moments. But that front for Cleveland is the real deal despite their record. That is some really talented football players out there. But regardless, early in the game, that offense was really clicking, and it was enough against this poor Browns team to ultimately get them over the hump and win the football game. Obviously, the fumble there, inexcusable. Burrow talked about it after. Can't happen, but you had done enough things leading up to that moment that it ended up not costing you. Grade the Bengals, A, B, C, D, or F in this game against the Cleveland Browns. Let us know in the comment section of today's video. Be honest with us. I'm giving them an A. I'm absolutely 100% giving them an A in this football game, but I want to know what you guys think. Sound off for us in the comments right now. Last takeaway, still alive. This team's still alive. That means next week against Denver, I don't care what happens the rest of the day. You got to go out there playing with your hair on fire at home. Right? It's kind of, it's a Saturday game. There's going to be more eyeballs on you, right? Again, I think it's a late afternoon slot. Big game. Sean Payton coming into Paycor Stadium. Got to be ready to go and ready to put out your best performance out there on the football field on Sunday. Still alive. Where we were several weeks ago, just to be alive at this point after Week 16, seems like a good thing. Obviously, there can be some frustration when you take a look at all the close losses and you're like, man, if they just had one of those, they would have just got over the finish line one of those times that they blew it, they would be going to the postseason. I get the frustration there, but to still be alive here with 2 weeks to go feels like a considerable blessing for this football team. Got to take advantage of it. Got to, be happy about it, and hopefully Cincinnati can go out there and capitalize. And fingers crossed, who knows? Maybe they can sneak in if they get some help from around the conference. Before we get out of here, a couple of injury updates here. T. Higgins went down in the game. He was having a great game before he went down, by the way. And he was able to come back in after he went down. Obviously, your mind went to the worst. He was kind of grabbing his Achilles, but I don't believe it was an Achilles injury. Nothing official. I think a lot of people speculating that it was an ankle. He had his helmet after that. He came back into the game a couple of times after that as well. So we'll continue to monitor Higgins' situation, but it appears as though he has not sustained a significant injury and should be just fine going forward. Amarius Mims, who's been dealing with an ankle issue for a while this season, and that oftentimes leads him to be a limited participant in practice. He's been outstanding this year as a rookie. I would like to know exactly what went on the sideline. He was kind of getting into it with Frank Pollock and maybe even Zach Taylor at some point as well. I think he wanted to keep playing, but they understood that they had the game in control. They need him next week against Denver, so he came out. Did have kind of like a boot or a brace or whatever on that foot. But like I said, Amarius Mims has been playing excellent, and hopefully he will be good to go on Saturday against the Denver Broncos. But that'll do it. That is our instant reaction video here at Bengals Breakdown. Cincinnati gets the victory against Cleveland at home, sweep the Browns, get a win this time 24-6.